When I was asked to introduce John Williams to the Hall of Fame, I realized I would have to look back over 32 years. That's how long I've known him. John and I have spent a lot of time together over 3 decades. We covered long events that ran from morning till night. We covered the World Series, the Belmont Stakes, the US Open, and many more. We would have breakfast early in the morning, work 12 or 13 hours, and then have dinner at night. And what comes to mind first, in all that time and all those places, is that we never once had a crossword or even a disagreement. I would guess that most of the married people in this room can't say that. But aside from getting along, what I remember about John is the pictures he took. We are now living in an age where anyone can take a picture, but nobody's pictures look like John's. John has a unique vision and consistently produces stunning photojournalism. When you look back at the important events over the past 30 years, you probably remember them by the pictures that John took. The haunting images in the aftermath of the Rwanda genocide, the flames on the water after the TWA 800 crash, American Pharaoh winning the first Triple Crown in 38 years, or Donald Trump announcing his victory on election night. While you might not have read the byline, the images stick in your mind and become part of your understanding of history. If I tried to list off all the awards that John won for these pictures, we would be here all night. I can't think of a better candidate to be inducted into the Long Island Press Club Hall of Fame. John's contribution as a journalist has made Newsday a better organization and helped Long Islanders see the world through stunning photographs. Without further ado, I would like to introduce my colleague and good friend, Conrad Williams Jr.
To be inducted to the Hall of Fame. When John called me, I was on an assignment, and he says, I got great news for you. The Long Island Press Club inducted you into their Hall of Fame. And I was stunned. I could not, I was on assignment, I could not think straight. I could not fight my way out of a paper bag, so to speak, to get the assignment done because I couldn't believe it. You just really never know that you're always being watched and people see you whether you notice it or not. But I got into this business over 40 years now. By chance, I bought a camera one day, decided I wanted to take pictures, and enjoyed it. I pretty much took pictures all day long. Anytime I was free, I was taking pictures. And one day I came home from work, and my mom said to me, "You do such great work with the camera." And she was a great artist, so there was art in the family. And her words were always were very meaningful to me. And she said, you should think about doing this professionally. So I was wondering, is it because I was spending so much money getting my film developed? Or did she really want me to do this professionally? But she did want me to do it professionally, and I thought about that. And I remember opening up Newsday, reading a story about one of the local politicians who was going to be sentenced for extortion, Joseph Margiotto. And I remember reading that story in the paper, and I said, wow, this could be my first story. I knew nothing about doing a story. I just went to the event. I went to the Supreme Court in Uniondale, and I walked into the room, and the room was just filled with journalists. I cannot tell you how intimidating that was. And as I walked through the door, all of them turned to look at me. And right away, I felt like I was not in the right place. Had a couple of camera bodies with me, and I proceeded inside. and this little man dressed in a wonderful suit from UPI who came over to me and he said, "Are you a freelance photographer?" And in my mind, I've never heard the phrase freelance photography used. And I said, "Yeah." So it was an oh boy situation, and I said, and so he said to me, "Well, we need you to shoot our story." And I said, "Your story?" I said, "Well, where are you from?" And he said, "United Press International." And that scared me, that stopped my heart, because I had been reading books about David Hume Kennerly, a Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer who worked for UPI at the time. And I was reading about everything he's gone through, and to know that this first day I was going to be doing a story for United Press International. World headquarters was in New York City at the time, so it was pretty big. And I remember calling the editor to speak to him. Larry DeSantis is his name. And I spoke to Larry and I said, "I am a freelance photographer. I am here at Uniondale shooting the Maggiata story." And there was this long silence. And I became very scared. And I didn't know whether to hang up the phone or wait there. And suddenly this soft voice began to explain to me what he needed as an image to tell the story. Now prior to that, I did not know. But he painted that image. Is he smiling? Is he sad? You know, is he quiet? Is he with his wife? Or anything like that he wanted me to illustrate. And I got the picture. So I remember going back downstairs to shoot the story. And again, it was all the television networks are there and the photographers. And we were all standing, waiting for him to come out of the courtroom. And so he did. And as we stood, it was made a huge circle so he can come out. And as soon as he came out, the whole circle collapsed around him. And I knew nothing of that. So I was out of the picture. I wasn't able to see him to get a picture. So I decided to do what we call a Hail Mary. So when I was standing over the crowd, I just held the camera up and just fired away. Remind me, we were using film at the time, so I didn't know if he was in focus. I didn't even know if he was in the frame. So I continued to shoot and continued to shoot. And finally, he began to leave the lobby of the courtroom out into the street to get into his car, and everyone, of course, followed him. And I followed as well. And we were fighting. All the photographers were just scrambling just to get a great photo of this man. And I was in the midst as well. And one of the photographers who came late, he was actually a UPI photographer, he slipped and he fell down. And this scene was just so rough. It was wintertime. And I remember him getting into the car, and the whole press corps went back to the building. And I chased the car. And the car went down the driveway, and it went to go out the gate, and the gate was backed up because of cars. And I caught up with the car, and I knocked on the window. And Mr. Maggiata rolled his window down. So I said to him, I said, I'm working for UPI, would you mind my taking a picture? And he says, go right ahead. So I got this wonderful picture of he and his wife sitting in the back seat. He was very calm, had a slight smile to his face. And I gave my film to the UPI photographer to take it to New York City to be processed. And so he called me later on. I was just thinking about it all day long. And around 11:30 that night, I got a call and said the pictures went over the wire and that they did use the pictures that I had taken. So that was really the birth of my start as a photojournalist. And with hard work and I think God's gift, I was able to have a really wonderful career. And with that career, I was able to teach as well, which was something I always wanted to do. I always admired teachers, even though I was probably a pain in the butt to my teachers. But I got to teach at Adelphi, and I got to teach at Nassau Community College, and I got to teach at Stony Brook. And I still go and teach at Stony Brook in the Green program, the Institute, which I love and look forward to every year because we get a lot of the high school kids there. And to share your experiences with them is just truly wonderful. So I just don't want to make this a long speech, but I just had a wonderful time at Newsday. I worked with a lot of great people. And it's all of you that I've seen in the street help mold me. And it's just watching others and seeing how they carry themselves and how they perform out there. And it helped make me a better journalist and a hard worker. And each of you contribute to all of our success. So I have to thank all of you for that. And I work with some really wonderful people. Thank you, and thank you for everything.